Good day. This is Pastor McLaughlin, the pastor of New Life Bible Church. And this is your Holyscope reading for March the 27th. Um, Holyscope is your message from God, a word that will give you hope, that will bless you, give you a sense of future, that everything's going to be all right. As we navigate these waters with the coronavirus and other things that's happening in our world, we need a word of hope, a message from the Lord. Your Horoscope is a book that I wrote several years ago, and it gives a message based on the Creator. As we've said so many times before, horoscope is your daily reading that comes through the newspaper or however you get them, and it's based on the stars and the constellations. The 12 constellations are actually 13 constellations, and as the sun appears to move through the constellations, and then your uh, horoscope is based on that. But your horoscope is not based on the constellations. It's not based on the star arrangement. It's based on the one who created the stars. As God has always said, don't worship the creature, worship the creator. And so for March the 27th, this is your horoscope reading. What the word that God has for you, as someone said, is for you. But this is your reading, March 27th. Today, God has heard your voice. Your prayers will be answered. Problems will be solved. There is music in the air. The angels are singing your favorite song. Go ahead, sing along with the angels. God is waiting to hear your voice. Then I asked the question, what song are you singing? There's music in the air. God has heard your voice. Many of us have been sending up prayers, the incense that goes before God. And God said, my sheep, I will hear his voice. So I guarantee you today, based on the word of God, that God has heard your voice. Your prayers have been answered. Your problems are solved. So go ahead and sing your song. This is the 280th day, the 85th day of the year, 280 days to go. So God has heard your voice. Go ahead and sing your song. I love it when when God gives me a good word. There's so much negative news in the world. You wake up, CNN or the other channels, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and you hear so much negative news, and it's just sometimes breaks your heart. But the Bible tells me today, my horoscope reading tells me today that God has heard my voice. And when God hears your voice, that means he's going to answer your prayers. So our scripture today comes from Psalms 119, Psalm 116 rather. By the way, Psalm 116 was probably the prayer and the song that Jesus was singing the night he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. And we read through that psalm, and Jesus probably was saying that psalm to himself as he was praying and asking God to take this cup from me, but it's not my will, but thy will be done. And then he goes on to say, you will not leave my soul in hell. So he was probably reciting the Psalm 116 the night he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. And here's what God tells you as you go through your struggles. Jesus, the psalmist, right? I love the Lord, for he has heard my voice. He heard my cry for mercy. Because he turned his ear to me, I will sing to him as long as I live. And that's what got Jesus through. Disciples has gone to sleep on him. He said, wait for me for a few minutes. And he came back, and Peter and James and John, they were sleeping. He was abandoned. Then he felt abandoned by the God. But then he remembered what the word of God said. I love the Lord, for he heard my voice. He heard my cry for mercy because he has turned his ear to me. And whatever cross you may be going through today, God has heard your voice. Whatever problem you may be having today, God has heard your voice. He understands and he will answer your prayer. This is Pastor McLaughlin, and we invite you out to our services, um, social media, on the social network, Facebook and YouTube this Sunday. But until next time, may God bless you, is my prayer.